Hello and welcome to the Trash Talk Podcast. I'm your host, today I have Sergej. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm doing fine myself. Today we're talking about TV shows. The main topic is going to be adaptations, I think, and then we'll see if we get into some other stuff as well. So how much? Let me find the original question. How much source material should TV shows adapt per episode, and does that even matter? I believe that question was posed by you, so I'm now posing it to you.
I think so, yeah.
And so it's okay. How much?
I have no clue. I would say the less you adapt of the source per runtime of a show, the better, but only to a certain point.
Yeah, I would say
if you drag it out too much, it's not serving anyone.
Yeah, I would say
at that point.
The very disappointing truth here is that the answer is however much serves the story best, right? Which sounds like a cop-out answer, but the problem is that just is the best answer. Now, I think as a general rule of thumb, we oftentimes see, for movies, we see one book per movie. For TV shows, we oftentimes see one book per season. By book, I mean novel. If they're based on something else besides novels, then some novellas, which are shorter, you might want to do more. But to some degree, it does vary. And to the extent of adapting less, I will point out that, as you said, that you can definitely overdo that. For example, if you try to turn say you try to turn a 95,000 word book into a movie trilogy, right? That might be a bad idea.
Doesn't sound too good, yeah.
I'm of course talking about The Hobbit, which, after the success of Lord of the Rings, someone thought, hey, wouldn't it be a good idea if, we made a movie based on The Hobbit? Except, of course, 3 movies based on The Hobbit. So, you end up having...
I assume, part of the problem is because the books are very descriptive. If they were mostly focused on action, it probably would have been mostly fine.
So,
right?
Before I guess we should probably talk about our statistical methods. We both, I think, we found some examples of adaptations. We wrote down the runtime of the show/movie and the word count of the novels/part of the novel, and then did some math based on that. To get to some words per minute and words per hour. I think per minute is probably more illustrative. But The Hobbit ends up clocking in the trilogy has about 202 words per minute in the regular edition, in the theatrical cut, and about 100. So again, words per minute means words of novel per minute of movie. I want to make this very clear, because obviously words per minute normally is when you're speaking, how fast are you talking and stuff like that. So that's not what this is about.
Yeah.
And the extended edition has 180 words per minute, which
that really is not a lot.
I was about to say, again, they are really stretching this out. But even 200 doesn't seem that much.
Looking at the examples I've written down, where it goes up to to the 4-digit realm, it really is not a lot.
So, okay, so the very short, the things I looked up, right, is The Hobbit is, again, in total, 202 or 180, depending on if you look at the extended cut or not, words per minute for the entire run of movies. The individual movies are a bit harder to look at, so I just, because I couldn't be arsed to actually figure out if they had specific chapter breaks, I basically just said, okay, a third of the novel per movie, which ends up giving us numbers like 188, 197, 220. It's not really that interesting, I think, because it is just based on one book.
Yeah.
The Lord of the Rings ends up being 870 words per minute on average, and 713 on average for the extended edition. And then what I also looked up is the first 5 seasons of Game of Thrones are based on the first 5 novels, though according to Wikipedia, which again, I haven't seen Game of Thrones, I haven't read the books, so I'm in that case I'm just going off of my own research there a little bit. But on Wikipedia, it lists season 3 and 4 both being based on A Storm of Swords, and then season 5 being based off both A Feast of Crowns and A Dance with Dragons, which means that if that is true, then they split the 5 books weirdly between the first 5 seasons. After that is based on stuff that isn't out yet in terms of novels, so I can't really talk about that, but the first 5 seasons are based on 5 books, which ends up giving us an average of 609 words per minute. But, of course, again, it's a little bit more inconsistent with the seasons. But so, 609 for Game of Thrones, 870 for The Lord of the Rings, and 713 for Lord of the Rings Extended, compared to 202 for The Hobbit, and 180 for The Hobbit Extended is definitely quite a different number. I mean, I'm basically saying Game of Thrones had about 3 times the amount of material per minute as The Hobbit did, and even more extreme in the extended cut.
So basically, from your examples, it's usually between like 600 and like 800-ish.
Well, between my exact examples are, if we exclude The Hobbit, are between 609, between 609 and 870.
Okay, so 6 to 900-ish, rather.
Yes, sure.
Then, because... So, the question the way I came up with the question was, because I recently started reading light novels that got adapted into anime that I've seen before, and realized just how rushed the anime adaptations have been.
Yeah.
And
weird question, right?
I thought that...
They're called light novels, but it's my understanding that they're actually not even that short.
No, not really, no. The shortest I have on here in all of them is like 80,500 words.
Because the shortest thing that I have on my list is, well, The Hobbit has 95,000 words, and the shortest Lord of the Rings novel has 137,000 words. So, those are in the same sort of ballpark. The Game of Thrones ones are longer. But yeah, that's still... I think the shortest one there was, is it the 292, or is it... Oh no, it's 295,000 for A Feast of Crowns. But still, right, it's like...
That's quite a lot, yeah.
That is quite a lot, but those, again, the Lord of the Rings books are actually also shorter than I thought, to be fair. But also it was initially intended by Tolkien to be one novel. And the editor was like, no, this is too long, and then split it up into 3 books, basically. Or had him split it up into 3 books. I'm assuming Tolkien maybe had some slight adjustments after knowing that it's going to be 3 books. I don't know the exact details on that, though. But also, by the way, the word counts are just things I looked up, so I didn't count them myself, is what I'm saying.
I mean, neither did I. I just downloaded ebooks and let a program count them.
Okay, so for me, the Game of Thrones word count numbers come from Wikipedia. The Lord of the Rings word counts come from a website that the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit word counts come from a website that I just it was the first thing that came up when I googled it. The runtimes for the Lord of the Rings movies as well as the Hobbit movies are coming from Wikipedia, and the runtime for Game of Thrones is an estimation by me based on the fact that IMDb lists 57 minutes as the average runtime of an episode, and those all having 10 episodes per season. I know some of the later seasons have fewer, but the first 5 have 10 per season. And so I could have looked up the individual per episode runtimes, but honestly I couldn't be arsed to look up 50 episode runtimes just to get plus minus 10 in total at the end. It just close enough.
Yeah. It doesn't really matter that much.
Yes.
It's
Exactly.
You really only need the ballpark number. But yeah, so, and like while reading them, I noticed that most anime adaptations use like 3 light novels per season.
That's a lot. Wait. Okay.
It is.
How long are the seasons? That's actually kind of important.
Season is usually like 12 to 13 episodes.
And runtime per episode?
With 20 minutes per episode.
That's not a lot, because the Game of Thrones ones, as I said, was 57 minutes per episode. In the 10-episode season, that's 170 minutes per season.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, what you said was more so in the ballpark of, like, 4 hours? So, 240, 200, well, a little bit more, but like...
Basically, yeah. Bit over.
Yeah. Because that's not a lot for, like, 3 light novels that are, well, at the shortest, 3 of them would be about the length of one Game of Thrones novel, so should be like almost twice as fast, right? So we're looking at what 1,200 words per minute, something.
Closer to like 1,000, maybe a bit less.
I mean, to be fair, I just did that all in my head based off of a lot of estimation and rounding. So I think I'm still
actually never mind. It's like usually slightly over 1,000, but yeah. Over 1,000, but less than 1,100.
Okay. That is... I mean, if you want to get into individual shows or something, but I could technically give you all the numbers per movie and per season, but I honestly... It's so many numbers, you can't keep them straight anyways.
Yeah, that is fair. So yeah, and then when I recently started reading another novel series that also got adapted into an anime, specifically the one called That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, or Slime Isekai for short, as people don't really like saying the full name all that often.
I can't imagine why.
I realize it adapts much, much less per season than like pretty much everything else. And that got the question like rolling, why, or like what is the optimal amount?
I wonder if how much you're adapting has something to do with the fact that a lot of anime gets cancelled after one season because it's basically just to promote the novels / manga.
Probably, but like in the cases where you get a second or third or even fourth season, like why do you still keep going at that pace?
I wonder if I had to
I don't
guess,
understand.
If I had to guess, I try to adapt as much as possible into the first season because, again, a lot of anime doesn't get more seasons, and it's my understanding that part of it is because one of the main purposes of anime is oftentimes to promote the source material. At least that's what I've heard. And so once you've established a pace, you might feel inclined to keep going at that pace. So it's like, oh yeah, we need to go fast because we might just get one season. Then you get a second season and you're like, well, I guess we're going to keep the pace.
Yeah. Like, even if approaching the end of the source material, like, why? You might as well, if the series is profitable, you might as well stretch it out as much as possible, right?
I mean, you'd think so.
This is the kind of stuff I don't understand. But apparently not.
I mean, that's the thing that a lot of young adult novel adaptations do with a movie series, right? You have one movie per book, and then the last one is 2 movies per book. Harry Potter started it, I think, and then every single other one ended up doing it, right? Hunger Games did it, Maze Runner did it, I think. Wait, actually, I'm not sure. Divergent was what I was thinking of. Did it. Twilight did it. I'm not sure, actually, Maze Runner did it. I was thinking of Divergent when I said it.
I only ever seen the first one.
But yeah, no, I mean...
Of Maze Runner.
I can think of at least 3 series that definitely did it, with Harry Potter being the first one, so...
yeah.
Like, that was a trend.
Mm-hmm.
Because every studio was like, oh, shit.
I don't understand why you wouldn't do that. Because, like, it does make sense, economically speaking.
don't know. I mean, there's also the possibility that there's just something where the fast pace, because presumably the show itself is more fast paced as well if you adapt more material. At least, even if not in terms of actually being just all action, but even just in terms of how quickly the story progresses. Maybe that's just a cultural thing as well to some degree, where it's once anime as a medium has established that sort of expectation, then anime viewers will also expect that kind of a pace, and if it becomes slower, they might find it more boring. But that's a thing that happens a lot, where I've seen it where shows that have a bit of a slow burn to them are very hard to market these days, because a lot of people will watch one episode and oh, barely anything happened, and then just drop the show. So I think to some degree, once expectations are set, it's going to be very difficult.
Yeah, that actually makes sense. Yeah,
move away from that, I suppose.
I've only watched a handful of shows that
it's all just a guess.
Do keep a good pace, good slow pace.
And again, the thing with slow-paced shows, oftentimes it's after the entire show is out, or the first season's out, people will be hey, this was actually really good, you should maybe watch this. But while it's airing, a lot of people are oh, no, too slow. Not good, couldn't be bothered, right? They didn't grip me immediately. It's
yeah.
Some shows are meant to be slow, although that doesn't mean they can't be gripping as well. It's a whole thing. But you have to oftentimes slow-paced shows are based on intrigue. Sometimes they're also just trying to evoke other feelings, but intrigue is oftentimes a good starting point for that sort of stuff. Where if you're curious about what's going to happen, you're willing to put up with a lot slower of a pace, because your curiosity just keeps going, even if not a lot is happening in the story itself. While I don't know where the sentence was going. While if it's not a curiosity, then you need to if you're, for example, trying to build suspense with a slower pace, then that suspense is going to break unless there's more suspense being built eventually, because that's not something that indefinitely sustains itself. Whereas
it's harder to keep suspense going.
Can be almost indefinitely sustained. But you have to stick the landing, goddammit.
That's why you. Yes, that's why you don't just do an info dump at the end and call it done.
Yes. Also, sometimes the worst part is people are speculating, right? And oftentimes, if you drag it out too long, it's almost no answer will be satisfactory to the mystery, right? I think Lost is a great example of a show that just kind of fell apart towards the end. I mean, I enjoyed Lost, but that ending was not. I don't know. The ending wasn't great. It's not a controversial opinion, okay?
I don't know. Can't relate.
It's something generally agreed upon. But I watched it and I was it can't be that bad, and it was pretty bad. No, I think the last season is not as confusing as people make it out to be, but the ending is still not that great.
Probably. Cannot say anything about it. Haven't seen it.
Anything else you wanted to say about... Right, you were talking about I kind of got hung up with the whole slower pace thing, and then that went on a tangent. You were talking about how the Slimy Sekai is a slower pace. That's where I interrupted you.
Oh yeah. I should probably mention the words per minute for it.
Sure.
So it already starts out with a slower pace, with about 2 novels per season, running at about 660-ish words per minute. Then goes at the very end goes down even further to 1.5 novels per minute. Per season, sorry.
Dude, which is, that's what hell of a pace.
That would be that'd be way too fast. 1.5 novels per season, about 570 words per minute, and at the very, very end, so far at least, to only 1 novel per season at about 460 words per minute, which is a lot slower. And while watching the anime, because I watched the anime in pretty much every case, I watched the anime before before reading the books. Surprising, I know, and like it didn't feel that different to the other ones.
It actually is kind of surprising.
Which is surprising.
I find most people tend to read the source material first, oftentimes. I think it's very common, actually. Also, I think a lot of people find it harder to read the novels when they already know where it's going, whereas the shows is not as much the case. I think part of that just has to do with like time investment, because it's like it's gonna take you longer to read the books than it is to watch the adaptation, generally speaking. And so, I mean, you can look at our words per minute count.
Oh yes,
right? Yeah. I've looked at it as well. If you look at the audiobook runtimes, I don't have them pulled up right now, but the audiobook runtimes for like the Game of Thrones stuff as well were like way longer than I want to say they were like 30 hours per book or something.
Oh, you might as well just read The Hobbit while you watch it and finish the book early before the trilogy ends.
Fair enough. But like generally speaking, also yeah, I was gonna say, right. You mentioned that like the how towards the end it got relatively slow with 450 words per minute, and it still is like over twice as much content per runtime as The Hobbit, right? Which, like,
yeah,
even in the theatrical cut is, again, at 202. Which is a number.
Not fast.
Yeah. So I ended up coming up with an average of 560 words per minute between all three things. Which actually, I just realized, is not how you calculate that. I averaged the averages rather than averaging the total runtime. So because Game of Thrones has 5 seasons and the 2 movie franchises have 3 movies, it's technically slightly weighted towards Game of Thrones. Oh, actually weighted against Game of Thrones because...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also I'm... Actually, wait, that means I've been doing it wrong for all of them, actually, because I've averaged the... No, that's fine, though, I think, but it's still technically not the correct average. Because I averaged the words per minute off of the movies and shows as well, not adding up the total runtime and total words and then average, and then map that up, which I should have done. No, because if I average out
it should be close enough, though.
I think it should be. I kind of wanna equal sum of
LibreOffice Calc, my beloved.
C3. Yeah, I mean, gotta love it, right? Like, C7, that one, and then
it honestly is great.
This one, and then get rid of that one, and then do this. Wait. Am I? Wait. What? That
should be.
Can't be right.
You are thinking, I assume.
It does actually give you... Wait, it gives the same result. Oh, I know why, because I was like, it shouldn't give the same result, but I was doing the Game of Thrones thing. And obviously it gives the same result because all the seasons are the same length.
Yep.
So if you average out the words per minute for all the seasons, it's the same result as if you add them together. Because the seasons are all the same length.
That makes sense.
For a lot of these movies, it would be slightly different because the movies also have different runtimes, although, admittedly, not by all that much. Also, it's worth noting actually that the Lord of the Rings movies got longer with time, and the Hobbit movies got shorter with time, presumably because they're running out of material.
I would assume so.
So yeah, that actually necessarily gives you the same results. So this is equal to the sum of you talk about something.
I don't know.
Like give us like a sort of final thought on how much you should adapt.
I mean, looking at the Slime Isekai example, I'd say about like 450, 500 should be pretty good. Assuming a not too descriptive novel, where it's mostly based, or it's mostly having, where most words are dedicated to like the actions people do, instead of how certain stuff looks like or feels like.
Okay, so the adjusted totals actually give us one word per minute fewer for the Hobbits, and I think it was slightly, I can't look it up what I had before, but it's also slightly different for Lord of the Rings, I think, which is 862 words per minute, and 701 for the extended. So it's slightly lower for Lord of the, I think it's slightly lower for both, actually. So yeah, that is...
I mean, that doesn't really matter if it's like only by a couple words per minute.
Yeah, it's close, obviously, because, again, the only difference is caused by the difference in runtime between the movies. So which is also why, as I said, like the Game of Thrones ones are just the same. And I'm not even going to bother with the total average then, which is bullshit anyways, because The Hobbit is such an outlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, at the end of the day, the sort of one book per season thing works well if you have short seasons. As in, we were talking Game of Thrones, like 10 episodes per season. If you want to do like one of those 22 episode per season ones, adapting novels is probably pretty hard. Oftentimes you do end up getting filler in there, which we have had an entire episode about that as well. But I think it's very difficult to adapt a single novel into like a 22 episode season without it becoming either very slow or you just add more stories in between. Also, I will say that generally speaking, novels tend to lend themselves to something that has like one continuous through line, like a movie or like a serialized TV show, but not to episodic shows. So if you want to have a more episodic structure, you probably don't want to adapt novels anyways. That probably lends itself more to adapting something like comics, where you oftentimes have also like shorter story arcs. Now, it's not impossible for novels to fit that, but like you would want probably some more like an anthology. Which of course anthologies usually have different characters, which is a whole other thing. But like actually like having individual episode stories is probably going to be just generally very difficult, but it's also why I didn't find that many examples of TV adaptations that I thought were close enough to the source material to where I could actually compare them, which is why Game of Thrones is the only TV show I had on my list. Of course, anime does have a tendency to adapt the source material a bit more directly oftentimes. But I just am not an expert on that
very
topic.
faithfully most of the times, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that is the answer to that, and I think that's probably enough. We had another question we might have wanted to answer here, but I think we can actually dedicate that to its own topic and move on to the facts of the week.
Probably, yeah. Facts of the week. I can't think of a segue. Never mind. I have recently learned that there are actually €0 banknotes. That surprised me quite a bit. And that is my fact of the week.
I can see why it would. I'm sure that it has to do with some sort of administrative reason, but please enlighten me.
Oh, it's just for like tourist attractions as a kind of.
So they don't have value, right? Because they're €0.
Yes.
So I could just make my own, right? Because it wouldn't be counterfeit currency, I think, because it doesn't have value.
I'm not sure about that.
I mean, I've seen like,
because these ones are actually like, they are heavily protected against counterfeit, like regular banknotes. They have like all the methods in them too.
So okay, I'm definitely not saying go out and copy them. This is definitely not legal advice, but I am just speculating that maybe because they don't have value, it doesn't actually cause any damage, so you should be able to do it. Maybe.
I have no clue.
And then, of course,
anyway, they're like sold at tourist attractions, like the Eiffel Tower, for example. There you can buy a €0 banknote for €3 with a picture of the Eiffel Tower on it.
Okay.
And similar story with other tourist attractions with the picture of whatever tourist attraction you have.
Because
you buy it at.
Banknotes are standardized in their design.
Yep.
Unlike Euro
with
coins.
fictional buildings enough. Yes.
Yeah. So that means you couldn't just make like a regular €5 note that has the tourist attraction on it. I would probably just have used like €1 or €2 coins for that, because those the countries can customize, and there have been so many runs of like for like special occasions and stuff like that. I don't see why you couldn't just have like an alternate design that is like very location specific. Obviously, they would enter circulation because they have value.
I don't know.
So it might be possible that you still end up getting like a Eiffel Tower €2 coin in Germany or something because someone just actually just had it and used it as money. So the fact that it has no intrinsic value probably makes it more useful as a tourist attraction, as far as it wouldn't just randomly spread throughout Europe. But yeah, no, that is still kind of interesting.
Actually, I just found an image. I can send it to you so you can show it on screen if you want.
You can do
of like
that.
a couple different ones. As usual, over Telegram, I presume.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Pro tip, of course, being that...
And without sound.
I was about to say,
yes.
to those that are not aware that you can, of course, send without sound on Telegram. I'm going to have to save this really quickly because of reasons. And then...
oh, yeah. I did not prepare it with black background.
Because the background for Telegram is transparent and I don't exactly want to show all my Telegram conversations. I don't think there's anything particularly salacious there, but it's just...
Just privacy, yeah.
Just general. And again, it's not even just my privacy, it's also other people's privacy, so, you know. So, I was going to press this button. These are the ones that Sergej was talking about. We have... does it say? Oh, it does say.
You might even zoom in a bit.
Sacré-Cœur, we have the Colosseum. Wait, are they all in French? Why are they all in French?
I don't know. They might be. I'm not too sure.
I can zoom in, wow. So, obviously, now our faces are covering part of it, but I mean, I was like, okay, Chateau de Versailles, okay, it's in France, of course it will be in French, right? Sacré-Cœur de Montmartre, I don't actually know where that is, but, you know, whatever, it sounds French enough. Colisée de Rome, wait, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not, I'm pretty sure it's not Italian, that is French. And then, you know, like, Saint-Pierre, okay, fair enough, like, Fontaine de Trévi, where it's like, Pont au Rialto, it should be, I think, Ponto de Rialto or something, Rialto or something, and it's like Porte de Brandenburg, right? It's like this is not German, this is French.
Yeah.
Acropole d'Athènes, right?
I think they might all be in French, yeah.
They are all in French. Like, listen, I can tell you for a fact.
What?
That they're all in French.
Never mind, not all of them are in French, at least, like, just Googling for pictures.
Well, the ones on this picture are all in French.
But these ones, yes.
Yeah, and it says, Collector 2017, which is notably not in French. Because I'm pretty sure it would be Collecteur with an EU rather than an O if it was French. Now, it does say Euro souvenir, it also says that right here, and souvenir, of course, actually it's a very international term. Souvenir is totally an English term as well.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, souvenir in French just means to remember.
Yeah, like usually they just say the thing, but like in the local language. I don't know why this image.
Either English, because it's arguably the most international language, or local language. Now, granted, of course, French is one of the official languages of the EU, but I think the EU recognizes all of its state languages as official languages, so that's not really meaningful. It's also one of the official languages of the UN, And it is still internationally one of the most commonly spoken languages, and also, of course, French speakers are particularly pedantic about French being included in everything. Like, have you ever seen like a UN banner or something where it's like the I think was it the UN? NATO definitely has it, for example, where whenever you have like a NATO conference, right, like in the background, it'll always say like NATO and then right under it OTAN, right? Because OTAN.
Yeah.
Organisation Traité Atlantique du Nord or something like that. And it's like every time. Hello? Can I not order for this? That's weird.
Yes.
There we go. So yeah, no, that's like everything has to be like accommodating French, and it makes a little bit more sense because historically French was more important than it is nowadays. So because a lot of that is also very old, and so that kind of makes sense. But I don't know if
still feels a bit silly.
But yeah, no, the NATO thing
guess.
Is like, oh yeah, like NATO, and then it says right under it OTAN, and I'm like, I think it was other examples, but that's the first one I came up with. My fact of the week. Oh, unless you have more to add.
No, not really. No.
My fact of the week is something that I found out as we were preparing to record this, and so for the first time ever, you're gonna see a spreadsheet. Because this is my spreadsheet. Okay, Untitled 1, as you would expect. And one thing that I noticed, and I want you to pay attention specifically to the Fellowship of the Ring here in the novel section, is that if you zoom in, the cell actually grows slightly faster. The text actually grows slightly faster than the cell. So now it doesn't fit in there anymore. But at 100%, it does fit in.
What?
But actually this is 100%. But now, it gets better, right? If you make it smaller, it also doesn't fit.
What the heck?
So this is zoomed out once. This is 100%. Then you zoom in. It's like almost, it gets closer to the border. It's right at there. It's just barely fitting in. Now it doesn't fit anymore.
And if you zoom in further, does it fit
now
again?
This doesn't fit.
It does.
This does fit. This doesn't fit. This does fit. This does fit. Does. But it does get closer and further again. But like,
okay.
I thought this was weird, and I just wanted to show it off. So this is specifically LibreOffice Calc, and I don't know what version exactly, but like, you know. But somehow, it doesn't scale quite linearly comparing the cell size to the text size, which is weird.
Open source software, my beloved.
It's not even like a problem, but
I can't really complain.
Kind of weird.
It's great software.
I mean, I love it.
Just poking fun of it.
But yeah, no, this is a weird behavior. Yeah. So that is something I found out just now, and I wanted to share with everyone.
That's not your fact of the week, or
no? That's my fact of the week. I'm using it as my fact of the week.
Oh, okay.
Bonus fact, if that wasn't fact enough for you, until we realized that this also keeps like cycling back and forth when we got like really big, I could have compared it to water, which, unlike most things, actually does have a highest density. Or was it lowest density? I think it was the highest, right?
Yep.
And then from that point on,
should be highest.
If it becomes warmer or colder, it goes down in density, despite the fact that most things will just linearly be affected by, or most substances are linearly affected by it, so like the warmer they get, the less dense they become, but water actually is weird in that it has a peak there. That is...
Water is really, really weird in that regard.
And it's like one of the most abundant things on this planet, right? So that just makes it more interesting that it's so weird. As our halftime show, we're doing the usual that we always do when it's the two of us. New Scrabble!
I haven't done this in a while.
This is the weekly Squirtle. And the way this works is we have to guess what the words in this thing are. So every row and every column is a word for a total of 10 words. And we have 8 guesses, but every time we get a word correct, we also get an extra guess. And there's hints. It's like Wordle, but cooler because it's more complex. Kind of. I mean, it's more complex.
Yeah.
The cooler things, kind of. But yeah, so we usually
it kind of even makes it easier. I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose in a way. I don't know if it's. I personally just like it because it's almost like Wordle meets Sudoku, right? In a way, it's not really like Sudoku because you can have repeat letters, like unlike Sudoku, but it kind of with how you all have to piece it together. It kind of reminds me of that a little bit.
It does.
I don't know.
Maybe a bit more of crosswords, but like in a weird way.
With like how it crosses over, yeah. So no eyes.
That is not a lot of information. Okay, let's see if we can recreate the miracle we did last time by just guessing the word correctly.
But it wasn't the first one, right? It was like the fourth one or something, wasn't it?
Was it? I think it was the second one.
Was it? Okay. So
but it doesn't really matter.
One of these words may start with an A and the other one may start with an E. I'm saying may. There's no reason why they would have to necessarily.
Yeah.
Also, none of those words contain a D. And neither of them end in a U, which is not that surprising because very few words do.
Yep.
I mean, if you wanted to use the most out of what we got, the strongest case you can make is that this E is pointing at the first letter and this E is pointing at the second to last letter. But there's no reason why they would have to be both in the same word there.
Mm-hmm.
There's two S's in egress, isn't there?
Yes.
Like exit, you know? Like egress. Point of egress.
Don't know about that word.
I think it's two S's. But, I mean, even if it weren't, it's still probably not a great guess for statistical reasons, but it would check both of these possible E's. Though, of course, we're usually of the opinion that if two hints intersect, there's a reasonable chance that the letter goes there. It's by no means guaranteed, and it's not even incredibly likely. It's just, this is the most likely letter to get into that position until we have reason to believe it might not be. So, any particularly genius guesses that you have for what just might be the randomly correct word in the second position?
Which consonants do we want to prioritize?
I'm generally always a big fan of S and T.
Because it's pretty much...
R actually as well. So, yeah. I mean, if egress is in fact spelled with one S, R and S being both in there does actually make it a reasonably good guess, but obviously there's no new vowels in there either, so I would also not mind checking for... I know you asked for consonants, but I wouldn't mind
roast.
Checking for either. But roast?
Yeah. Should check all of them.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
Plus give
I literally gave you 4 letters to check and you found a word that has all of them, so...
Yeah.
We got a letter.
And a lot of hints.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of A's, huh?
Yep. Also, we fenced in the S and T quite a bit.
Right, because they can only both be in 2 spots respectively. Being these and that for them, this and that for the...
I mean, technically 3, because the S could be in the rightmost and T
right. Never mind. Yeah, sorry.
Where T, yeah.
Yeah, you are obviously correct. Oh, that is also, by the way, kind of where it is like Sudoku, where it's like, oh, I still need an S in this row, and I can not have another S in this column.
Yeah.
Except that it's not another, but yeah.
Yeah.
If we wanted to, we could go, well, there's an A pointing here, there's an S pointing there, there's an T pointing there, and there's also kind of an A pointing there. So if we have something like, well, arrest has an E there, not an A, but something like that, where it's like, oh yeah, just go full am. Actually, there's no, we don't have an R there, so. Avast. It means the name of an antivirus program. I don't know if that actually is a proper word.
I don't know.
But if it is, then it would literally check this, and that, but it gives us very little new information, of course.
I mean, Agast, I think, has an H in there, right?
I was just about to say Agast works as well, but it might require an extra H, yeah. I think it does require an extra H. Amazed is completely different. Amazed. Double S. E-D. Amazed is 2 words. Alast? No, probably not.
Thinking that too.
Azast, Exast, Cast, Avast, Abast, Anast, Amast, Abast, Avast, Anast, Amast, Acast.
We might just try Avast. Shouldn't hurt nobody.
Well,
it is an actual word.
So
we have 2 A's in this column.
Wait. We have 2 A's in the row.
What do you mean 2 A's in the row?
Oh, no, wait. Oh, it's just... Never mind. I was about to say that seems very wrong. Like double A ending? No, you're right. It has 2 arrows up, down, and there's 1 left, right. It's a very... You have to read this very precisely. Okay. So we have another A, which is in one of the bottom 2 positions. And one of the A's towards the end here. Okay. You're right. I got a little overexcited there. I saw a bunch of arrows and I was like, oh, there's A's everywhere. And it's like, no, not quite everywhere. I mean, obviously, the problem with what we just did is that we got very little information. I mean, no V's, which is not that surprising. And of course, we only exclude one possibility for S and T and another possibility for A, but it's not really... I mean, we did get an A. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we could do something like just trying A, E something and just going for... Well, I mean, the E hints make it so that we probably might want to guess that anyways. And then we could try an A here / here, because we do still have to figure out where this A hint points in both directions. So we could do something like this. Something like, Oh, right. I was just thinking, how do you spell plaid? Is that like that? Because I was saying plead is the other way around.
What? Wait, which word?
Is it like plaid, something like that? Like a material or pattern or something?
Could you give me an example?
Clothing? Like a plaid skirt?
I think it's PLAID.
Ah, that might be it, yeah. So I'm thinking, if it is this, like the AE thing, it's kind of a rare combination, to be honest. But also words ending in A are kind of rare as well, I would say. So it's not like... In English, I think EA is more common than AE. Now, if this was German, that would be like AE would be like, oh, it's just A. But...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think that E is correct.
But you do think the A is?
It seems more likely.
So well, there has to be an E somewhere, so are we doing something like, I mean, obviously not that exactly, but something to that effect. Obviously, we don't want the S in the end, but... Unless we go for the Unless we go for the row, in which case we could actually have the S in the end, but okay, so let me remove this then. Oh god, I'm trying to think.
Yeah, are there any other letters we want to test for specific rows or columns?
Well,
because I kind of personally suspect a C in the second row for some reason. I don't know, just feels that way.
wait, a C?
Yes.
The second row. I think it's something like reach, or like. Why are you suspecting a C? Because
I don't know. It just feels that way.
Because we haven't tried C at all. Like, there's no indication at all.
Yes.
Because I was just thinking, we could go. Obviously, L would actually be another good letter to test, and then that could just be the correct word, right? Least.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not, actually, it couldn't be.
Except it isn't.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Never mind. I thought it was so clever.
I mean, leapt could be.
Leapt could be, yeah. But the question then becomes very quickly if we actually test the EA and T, or if we want to actually get more information by guessing something that nothing is pointing at. Because we've had that problem before. If you always go too strongly for what is being pointed at, you do end up figuring pretty quickly out where that goes, but then you have very little hints otherwise.
Yep.
Leapt for the column. I don't hate it, though. Because we don't have that much else specific.
I guess we can try it, yeah.
Well, no more P's.
No P's.
I love how the keyboard's like IOP, like just forget this entire chunk of the keyboard.
Just don't bother.
Okay, we know for a fact there's an A there.
Yep.
I also feel more confident than ever to guess that there might be an E here. Because that's one of three possible spots in both the row and the column. And otherwise we need two E's between the row and the column. So that makes it a better guess. We know for a fact that there is a T there.
Yep.
And there's two possible spots for an S at this point, isn't there? No, actually, no, that is... No, it is.
Yep.
There or there. ST is totally valid. Actually, what would come after this would have... I'm thinking more likely there. Because ST is it's a very common expression, though, then again...
Yeah.
The question would be what we would get there, where it's like... Because obviously we'd have to then have something that has like... That ends with like... Rust and rest are obviously words in and of themselves. Oh, something like crest. You wanted to see. It's not where you wanted it, but you did want to see.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't hate this. As a matter of fact, if we do know there's an E here, it can't be there. Wait, actually, there has to be an E here, doesn't there? Because first column needs an E because of this end. It can't be there because we know for a fact that it's a T.
True, yes.
And it can't be there, so
good
it has
spot.
to be an E. So At that point, I really like something like crest. I mean, obviously, again, the S is a guess out of a 50-50, but I still like it there better than at the other position.
Also, nothing prevents the last column to also have an S in there.
That is true.
Could be something like brass.
Wait, what?
Something like brass could totally fit in there.
Wait, could it where? In the last column, BRASS. Okay.
Yes.
I suppose it could. It's not something I would love to guess, though. Because obviously double letters are not the most informative in terms of guessing, and if this is an S, then there's no reason why this would have any higher likelihood of being an S than any other letter. Again, that is if it is. Guessing it would not be terrible, because then we know for a fact whether or not it is over there. But B is not the most common letter, though we at least haven't guessed it yet. R we have guessed before, but it didn't really give us anything. Well, I mean, no, we actually guessed it twice. It did give us something. We know that there's also one here. I mean, it's not going to be there. Which means it might be there.
But yeah, anyway, like, we also know for a fact that the last letter of the central column is an A.
Right, because there's two A's in that word.
Yeah.
Okay, what else do we know? We have a high likelihood of that one E, which I marked. A high likelihood of the S, I would say. If dare I say that if the S is correct, which is admittedly going off something, that there's not going to be an A here, so there might likely be an A here.
Yep, that doesn't make sense to me.
It could literally be sales, in which case you would have your wish of having two S's in the row.
Probably not, because plural.
Yeah, I don't
also,
know.
No
have you
L.
ever gotten a plural? I know it accepted as guesses.
I don't think so.
But I don't think we've ever had an answer.
I think the guy, Furby, specifically doesn't want plural in there. Or at least that's the case for the original Squirtle.
Okay,
for the original Wordle, I mean.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't...
Seems likely that the same is the case here.
How do you feel about train? Oh, no eyes, never mind.
Train.
I felt very happy about that one as an option, but there's no eyes in the entire puzzle, so it can't actually be train. I was thinking for the bottom row, not for the right column.
Yep. But maybe track.
R works. Oh, you wanted your C. You wanted the seeds somewhere, so I mean, you haven't tried K or C. I like that. Do you want to just guess that?
Sure. Let's go for it.
Get some more info. Get some more. Well, it was Tra.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess we knew that it was T
and
and
we
A,
know
so
there definitely is a seed in there. Somewhere.
I mean, you said second row. At some point, for again, no reason that is clearly discernible to me, but
I just associate C's with R's for some reason. I don't know.
Oh, like
just seems like a likely combination.
I mean, I said reach, which it can't be because obviously the C can't go there.
Mm-hmm.
And it can't go immediately after the R, I would say, just for linguistic reasons.
Yeah.
Which if it were in the second row, then would mean that it's right there. But obviously it could also be in the first, third row.
It's more likely that it's the top left spot that the C goes into. Because of crest.
Oh, right, crest, we said that. As a matter of fact, are we at a point where we want to guess crest? Or do we want to... Because the S is almost a given, the E is a given. So we could just guess a C word for the row. And then just get it going row by row, basically. Although, we will eventually run out of guesses as well. So, we might also just want to just type in crest to get the guess. Because we are down to 3. Which I know we point out a lot once we're around one time that all of a sudden we only have 3 guesses left, and then we basically Sudoku to get the entire solution. So it's not entirely out of the ordinary.
Yep. So you might fill in like the C in there for now as a guess.
Oh right, that is true. C guess. Okay.
Interesting thing is we have an L in the first row.
Yeah. And I was just thinking, is it a final L? Like, in words... I mean, there's a bunch of words that end with L, right? Like, adjectives mostly. Or do we have CLA? Which is also perfectly legit. Like in clan. Or in clade. Or in,
Yep.
clack. Which is a word, I think. Like click clack, like clicking and clacking. I don't think it's like necessarily. I think it's like supposed to be an onomatopoeia, but so Cla is perfectly legit. Also the name Clara, Claire. Names I don't throw out. But also again ending in L, right? Like regal. I mean, it's not by any stretch regal, but like. Just in general, it could be some to that effect, right? Like, focal, like just most of those would be AL. It could be EL in some cases as well, though. I think, like in fell, that's a bad example. It's double L as well. Like in feel, that ends in EL. Seal ends in AL. Okay, it is worth noting that a lot of words that end in L do end in AL. Generally, I'm thinking consonant L is also very common, or double L. But it can't be double L. It could be consonant L, but it would be harder to pull off. Because you need something that ends in a consonant and then L, which is weird, right? And vowel and then L is difficult because this can't be an E. It's probably not going to be an A. I am thinking, and this is one of those very dangerous guesses where just, like, after 3 levels of alpha extraction, go there, but I'm thinking the L is more likely there.
I think so too.
Clasp. I literally can't be an S, okay. Or and be done of peace. I just guessed 2 bad letters. That's no. Claim. No I's. Clans. Okay, no S's at the end, no plurals, we said. Clade. Clade actually does work, doesn't it?
No I's again.
What? No. CLADE.
Oh.
It's a biology term. It means like a family or a kingdom or something that are considered clade.
Oh, okay.
I think clade works on any level. So if you want to say this family, this kingdom, like you can always just say they belong to the same clade. I think you can always say that. But that should be CLADE. So that would technically work. It's definitely a stretch to guess that. Actually, what do we know about these? Actually, there can't be D there, so that's not it. Actually, wait, what do we know about these? Pretty much the same thing we know about C's, huh?
They're somewhere in there.
Because I know you sometimes like to do that, where it's like, oh yeah, let's just figure out where this letter goes. Oh yeah, it could be something like trade. As a matter of fact, it's not even that unlikely that the D goes right there. Because ED is a perfectly fine ending for a word.
Oh, yeah.
Could be there, but it would be... I wouldn't know what... Could be there. I mean, the D could be in a lot of places, but I am starting to think that trade is a good answer for this. But then again, there might be...
I would agree.
More solutions. You know what? I think I'm just going to write it down. Trade. There comes a point, but we don't have to be too attached to the things I write down, because I'm starting to write down a lot of things, some of which have very weak reasonings, but how do you feel about the letter R in the final column? Do we want it here? Or there?
Can't be in the first position.
It literally can't be. And since I now blocked the last bit, this is still technically a guess. Because it could technically be in last, but it can't be in first, so R is a perfectly fine ending. R or air, depending on how the word actually works. Honestly, it's starting to be useful that we have no V's.
Is it safer?
It could be safer, but again, same as with plurals, comparatives are a bit of a weird choice. And I was thinking it's useful that we can't have a V, because it could be savor otherwise. Let's see. Sour? Someone who saws?
Satyr. Someone who sates.
Satyr, someone who sates, yeah. Sayer, someone who says? No, this is right. Sayer, someone who
could be
says.
Sauer.
Sour. No. Satyr.
Don't think it's an English word though.
No, safer, as you said, sager. Like you know, someone is a sage, but you are a sager. I mean, it's not even a real word, and it's a fake comparative. So, say her, say sayer, say sazer, say sixer, say saber. How about saber?
Oh, Yep. That is the most likely one, I think.
Saner, as in more sane, and samer, as in more same. No, I think saber is certainly the strongest one we've come up with in terms of just making sense. No, but I was also trying to figure out another, because if you assume there are no comparatives, saber, as I think is the best one. I'm thinking, I think I've seen it spelled RE, but I think that's just a British thing. I think in American English it will be spelled ER, so I think it's fine.
Could be.
Because that's always the other thing, right? Where it's like, oh yeah, like a lot of things are spelled RE in British English and ER in American English, but in some rare cases, the ER like change never happened in American English, so it's actually RE in both. And like saber seems like the exact kind of word where it's like, oh, maybe because it's a pretty archaic thing and we don't use sabers anymore. Like it remains sabre, but yeah. The bad part is that we still have a lot of things that are missing 2 letters.
Yep.
And we have like basically no positive information for this column or this column, right? It's like we don't have any positive information for columns, basically. Because like the A's are already accounted for, the R's are already accounted for, so the R in this one is accounted for. And the A's in this one are accounted for. The A in this one is accounted for with this. So we have nothing.
Anyway, which words end with BA?
That is a very strong question.
Like that doesn't sound too common.
it did weird me out as well, but again, we said Sabre is the most reasonable thing, so Ba, I mean, Alba, which is the Scottish name for Scotland, which is not very useful because A, it's Scottish and not English, and B, well, Scottish Gaelic to be precise, and B, it's also only 4 letters. Ba, or Bay. Well, part Ba. I think it might be a foreign word, then again, half of it is foreign words, but like, it's probably not of Romance origin, to be honest. It's probably not of a Germanic origin. It's probably like an actual, like, more recent loanword then. Or if it's not more recent, it's still like from again, like half of English is French, basically. Kind of. Between a third to half. And like, about half of it is of Germanic origin, which is to say it's coming from the original Anglo-Germanic roots or the Nordic roots that came in with the under Danelaw. But that still leaves about a little bit for other loanwords. Do we have anything? No.
I'm starting to think that the B is not correct there.
Yeah, but I mean, what did we say? I mean, F is not necessarily better. Nor is W for that man. Or like, what was the other one that we said? V doesn't work. M? I mean, maybe, but like... I mean, you have to consider, right? The E might also be wrong. Although that doesn't really... Like, the row, like... The S isn't really...
No, well, let's just go with Crest for now and confirm if the S is actually in that spot.
Is a good point. Crest. It is correct.
It is.
Did we already know about the E? We did not know about the E, did we?
We did not.
Oh god. I have a suspicion that maybe... Hear me out. Maybe the E actually goes here. Whoops, no. Maybe the E goes there.
Yep.
No, there. If it doesn't go there... Why did I put the A there again? Because of the crossover, basically. I'm thinking we erase...
I think so, yeah.
I think we get rid of all of this. And we start from
that seems safe.
So, we had an S, which we now have established exactly what it is. We have multiple E hints pointing at both of these spots. We have an R that could be likely there, which honestly is something I'm going to retain. Like, this is most likely where the R goes in this column. It's by no means a guarantee, but...
I'd agree, yep.
Which then leaves us with 2 possible spots for the A. And 2 possible spots for the E. So it could be AE, which we had problems with before. Could be AE, like in what is it we end up saying, Saber? Or it could be A there and E there. Like in spear. Which is not at all that far from Saber in terms of thematical sense. Or steer? No, steer is spelled differently, it's double E, right? But spear works. Wait, spear is
not really, because no P.
Oh, no P, fair enough. Like smear.
That would work.
Then the question is just the would word and an MR. That seems very dubious. I think that was part of the reason why I put the A here. Because of I probably need a vowel here. Because let's think, ending in R, right? It's usually ER or OR. Sometimes AR, I think, is not entirely unreasonable, like plain R. Laminar, I think. I think so. But like I think so. So this would have to be an A, E, or O. Most likely, it can't be an O. It can't be an E. It could be. Oh no, it can't be an I. Wouldn't be Y. I'm thinking A does make a lot of sense there. Which obviously brings us back to either having to have AE or having to basically have Saber. Isn't it kind of wild how every remaining column has to have at least one A?
True.
So we could also put an A right here. For this row and this column and that row. Which is, or put the A here for still this column and then that row. Because like every column and row basically needs an A. Wait, does every single row has an A? And every column except for the first also does. There's so many A's.
Quite a lot of them, yep.
Right, so if this seems unlikely to be an E, although it could be. If this is not an E, then one of the last two would have to be. I already said that AE down here is weird, so that does bring us back to having an E here and very likely an A here. Which brings us back to Saber.
Yeah.
Makes me think maybe an A there. Because then we have the minimum amount of A's that we need. This again, it becomes very Sudoku-like, where we almost kind of want either those two to be A's or those two to be A's. It doesn't technically have to be, but those are the rows and columns, so we need ones. And I mean, they can technically align, unlike a Sudoku, so we could have two in this column or two in this column. But then also we still need to account some other letters, so this seems like a relatively reasonable lineup. Let's see. Is that... Okay, and then we would still want an E somewhere in here. This... It can't be there. It could be there. She almost would want it to be there. I don't like the E's. I like there are so many E's and A's, but I almost feel like it's almost necessary to have an AE combination somewhere, right? Because if this is A and this is E, we still have to have an E somewhere in here, right? And it's not going to be Sa E E R. And if it's here, then it can't be AE. If it is in the center, that it's kind of weird. And if it's in the end here, it becomes really weird. Wait. I guess this is the most reasonable spot to put the E then. But then again, like, I think we had anima before at one point, but like that's the only word I can come up with right now that fits with the like the pattern. This could be like famed or something. Is linear a word? Like linear, but without the I? Linear. It's not even how to spell it at all. Linear, like L-A-N-A-R. Wait, why would I want an A there? I guess why not? Lunar. We need a U somewhere. We don't have the U yet.
Yeah.
So this could be lunar.
That does make a lot of sense.
Which would make this very likely enema. Which could make this sound like famed, but again... Actually, wait, claf... Claf... No. Claf... Seems like a stretch. Damed... Is damed a word? Because then it could still be clayed. Except I can't be an E. Never mind. Gamed? Clag... Clach? I don't know. Rural.
Laugh with double F. A word.
Claff with double F? I don't know. I was just thinking, how do we like...
I feel like I've read that somewhere before.
Okay. Oh yeah, no, that would work because then we have famed. And we have flare. Not you flare. We have rural. And well.
Arena
and saner. Which we didn't want a comparative, but that still works. Like, this kind of works.
It kind of does, yeah.
I think it doesn't matter if we do rows or columns. Well, the columns is basically something.
It does.
Right, because...
Yep.
So, lunar?
Less. Yep.
Arena? Famed? No Fs. I mean, it could still be glare. And then... Well, I don't know. I mean, I was like, okay, we got this, right? And I'm like, we're on the roll. I don't know what class is, but we're good. And it's like, no Fs. Well, it can't be clasp. I already said that. Okay, wait. Do we actually have new hints? Yeah, it's named. This is an N. I was just like, hey, actually, we can just look at the hints, right?
Oh, true. Yep.
And it could be clang, right? It's an onomatopoeia, right? Like to clang, right? Like to make a clanging noise. And it could be glare.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yep, let's go for that.
And then it has to be clang. That much is not. Okay. So I haven't heard of claff, I have heard of clang. So...
I think claff is like... Like a child cow or something.
Oh, you're thinking of calf.
Maybe.
A child cow's a calf. It's CALF or something? Like. It does have an L in there, but it's...
Never mind then.
It's a silent L. So clang.
Just...
Rural. Anima, which I swear to God we had before. Saner, which I didn't expect to be a word in here, because again, I didn't expect comparatives. But this... I don't know any other meaning besides a comparative of sane, right? Trade. Crest. Lunar. Arena. Named.
Yeah, just the comparative form of sane.
Yeah. And glare. Also, named is a passive of to name, right? Which is also like I name, you are named. Like I name you, you are named. In parentheses by me, right? So I mean, obviously I didn't name you, but you get the idea. So yeah, that I mean, it was doable, and obviously we did it. It was doable. But clang is a weird choice, and again, we didn't necessarily expect him like saner to be in here. Named almost feels more natural, weirdly enough, because
it does.
I don't know why, but it feels like a more natural inclusion. I like how, despite the fact that we got the first row wrong, we still got otherwise correct solutions for the columns, right? Like how instead of named and glare, we had famed and flare, and it still worked.
Yep.
That was Squirrel. On the second topic, I could have actually stated the scene. We're doing something, dare I say, absurd.
Ew. Yes.
So, absurd trolley problems, and I should have thought about this. There we go.
Can you zoom out? Yes, you can. Let's do it.
I'm sorry about the text says for everyone who's maybe on a mobile device or something. Suck it. I'm gonna read them out anyways. Oh no! A trolley's a ding. Wait, what? Why is this a? I don't know what's up with the A. It's there. It's just in a
There is a faint
font.
A. Yep.
Heading towards 5 people. You can pull the lever to divert it to the other track, killing 1 person instead. What do you do?
I do nothing.
Really?
Yeah. Like, in real life, I would probably do nothing.
Okay.
Like, in this abstract thing, I would most likely pull the lever. Like, yeah. I'm leaning towards pulling the lever. But, like, I mean, in real life, if I'm actually presented with that situation, I would probably not do it.
I mean, that is also the general consensus of how this will work. Like, most people would say they would pull it, but then they wouldn't. Also, very rarely is there such a clear-cut choice in your life. Let's say this obvious, right? There's usually much more going on. Also, I mean, for again, like how do I know that this lever just happens to do the exact thing I want to? Plus, you don't know where the track leads. So, realistically, it's also the thing where it's like, oh yeah, we're diverting it to a different track. Like, where does the track go? Is there another train on the track? Like, but just for the purpose of this, I would say we pull the lever because we kill fewer people. Even though we don't kill anyone otherwise, and now we do, but fewer people are being killed.
Makes sense. Yes.
76% of people agree. Oh, this is perfect. Look at how well this fits between the cameras.
Oh, yeah.
Oh no, Trolley heading towards 5 people.
Good stuff.
Pull the lever to divert it to the other track, killing 4 instead. Again, in a vacuum, this is still better, right? Like, I don't think this changes anything.
Yeah.
The math is the same.
Math the same, but real life makes me even more would make me even more hesitant to pull it.
Obviously, that's also the thing where, like, is there another way to prevent this from happening? Right? Like, could you like stop the train, or could you get the people off the track? I mean, I know Vsauce did like a thing for Mindscape where they did actually try it, where like they set it up in a way where people could actually do it. Okay, so this is a new problem. Oh no, Trolley's heading towards 5 people. You can pull the lever to divert it to the other track. But then, your life savings will be destroyed. What do you do?
I mean, considering I don't really have life savings at the moment,
I was going to say...
I think the choice is obvious. So
this is one of those where I think a lot of people... I think most people will say that they'll save the people. I think this is one of the situations where, like, yeah, no, my life savings are something that, like, once I have a job, I can, like, recoup in a matter of months, right? So this is not, like...
Yeah.
We're not necessarily talking about, like, huge amounts of money. So it's easily a pull for me. I will say, though...
Especially considering that the people will probably give you some money for saving them.
That seems like a stretch. But, you know, I think...
At least a little bit.
I think it's one of those where, realistically, if there was more money in play, I would think that I would still choose the people, but it's one of those where, again, like, if you're in the situation, this might be different from... Like, hypothetically, I would still choose the...
Oh, yeah.
The people, but... This is where it gets interesting. Now we're not talking about your life savings, we're talking about your life. So, okay. Trolley sent towards 5 people. You can pull the lever, divert it to the other track. Sacrificing yourself instead. What do you do?
Fuck no. I definitely wouldn't pull it.
The answer is... Lever? What
I'm
lever?
quite selfish. Yes.
6 other people...
I haven't seen a lever.
But, you know, I mean... The fact of the matter is, right? It gets more complicated when it's the other way around, I think. So I'm pretty sure it's not in this, but if you are on the track and you can pull the lever to divert it to kill 5 people, it's definitely a lot harder thing to, like, justify, right? But because then you're actively killing 5 people to save yourself rather than passively killing them, which is still technically different.
Yep.
But, you know, I mean, self-preservation for me always comes first. So obviously my moral system would generally say that it would be better to kill myself than the 5 people. But there is no situation in which I would actually make that choice. Because again, self-preservation. Because my moral system technically is aiming to be fairly objective, sorry. And thereby, putting myself above other human beings is not something I can objectively justify, yet I will still do. So yeah, that is where that goes. Yeah, I think this one is one of the easiest for me. The trolley sent towards 5 people. You can pull the lever to divert it to the other track, but then the original copy of the Mona Lisa will be destroyed. What do you do?
I pull the lever.
First of all, I would like to appeal to the ship of Theseus. Like, I'm pretty sure the Mona Lisa has been restored multiple times. It's like barely the original at this point.
Oh yeah.
So, also, pull the lever. So,
plus we have, like, lots of copies of it.
Yeah, so there's a question of art.
Pretty much indistinguishable.
There's the question about art. And the question is, what's the value of art? And I think there is some value in art, even though I like to not really value that highly, generally speaking. But, like,
yeah, obviously.
There is some value in art. But the art of it isn't even lost. So yeah, like, as you said, like, we have copies.
It really was, like, a unique thing that we don't have copies of.
I mean, I would still say
that might be a bit harder.
But
I mean, yeah, obviously, but, like,
again,
the stakes are higher then.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, this is, like, a very low stakes for me as well. Was there anything else I had to say about the art? I think... Oh, yeah, right. I think this would be a lot different if we were destroying knowledge, right? So, as I said, like, if it's unique, it does inhabit... Because I said, like, what is it I said? Like, you know, reduce harm, knowledge is good, and what was the third one? I had 3 things that I usually like to say for my moral system. Oh, yeah, right, self-determination, right? Like, so, Trolley is heading towards a rich man. The rich man offers you $500,000 to pull the lever, which would divert the trolley and kill someone else. What do you do?
I would most likely pull the lever.
Sergej?
But that is quite a bit of money.
First of all, eat the rich. I mean, don't actually, you know, that's harmful, like, botox, silicone, like, not very healthy. But, first of all, like...
I mean, obviously,
like
yes.
Killing rich person is doing Actively killing a rich person is hard to justify again because human life. But like in this case, someone dies anyways, and I feel like there's more objective good being done by the rich person dying. Also, and this is the next aspect that I would point at. This is a liability concern, my dude. Because once you take money to divert the train to kill a person, now we're not just in like, did you kill someone if you diverted it, but you saved other people and people will be sympathetic to that. This is basically conspiracy to murder. And I guess since it was planned, it's probably not even like manslaughter, it's probably like murder one. Like we're talking about like spending decades in jail. If someone finds out about this. So like even if that would be unfortunate, yeah. Even if we say like, okay, morally it's equal because they're just two people and I don't see a difference between rich and poor people and blah blah. Like this is also like a huge liability. I personally would do nothing. Also, there's always the point of this trolley is probably part of some sort of like public transportation network, and there's now we get into the like one person on each track. When in doubt, do nothing is always something I would say because obviously you are you are still like disrupting traffic. You are possibly colliding it with another trolley and stuff like that. So there's other reasonable concerns for why you wouldn't want to pull the lever when in doubt. But I think also, again, rich people and conspiracy to murder, and I think there's so much speaking for not pulling the lever, honestly. Did I convince you?
I mean, theoretically, yes, but like in practice, probably not.
Eat the rich! 59% of people agree with that. But again, in theory, because in practice, most of them wouldn't.
Yeah.
Oh no, a trolley's heading towards 5 lobsters. You can pull the lever to divert it to the other track, running over a cat instead. What do you do?
To do nothing.
Honestly, this is one of those where, like, realistically, the cat should be easily able to get off the tracks, but also practically, I don't think that's what we're assuming. I don't think that cats and lobsters inherently have, like, that much of different value.
Also, even if it's reversed, like, I probably wouldn't pull the lever either.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, you know that what you're supposed to do if, like, a cat is running over a street is you're supposed to just keep going as you were. Because anything else could be dangerous to other drivers around you. Like, again, when in doubt, do nothing. And I think that's levels of sentience is the argument here, according to the name. But again, realistically, it's just like, okay, this is of little consequence in a way, and we're doing nothing. I might even go so far, and this is a bit more questionable, but if there was like a cat on the track, or the lobsters, and it said there's nothing on the other track, I might still, realistically, I would still do nothing. In hypothetical land where, like, I guess the tracks re-merged later on, it realistically doesn't do any difference, I would maybe pull it. I would probably pull it. Like, if I knew for a fact that there was no other difference except that I'm saving an animal. But in practical terms, I would still not do it, right? So even if, because saving an animal still doesn't warrant whatever disruption we're causing. But now we're getting into other considerations again. A trolley is heading towards... It's pretty cut off. A trolley is heading towards 5 people who are sleeping and won't feel pain. You can pull the lever to divert the other track, running over someone who is wide awake. What do you do? I want to hear your thoughts on that one.
This one is tougher. Again, realistically, I would probably not do anything.
But yeah,
theoretically,
I
probably would.
So,
yeah.
My mind here is, again, like, the human life has the value, right? Like, the pain is technically a consideration, again, utilitarianism, but it's a relatively minor consideration compared to human life, I would say, so I would still pull the lever. I don't think it changes anything. The sleeping status. I mean, it is mildly changing something, of course, but I think it isn't it isn't really a substantive change. This one is a substantive change, in my opinion, though. A trolley is heading towards 5 people who tied themselves to the track. You could pull the lever to the other track, killing one person who accidentally tripped over the track instead. And ended up being tied up with something. I don't know. Maybe he's just wearing a striped shirt. I have no idea. What do you do?
Do nothing.
Yeah, right? It's like...
In both cases, yeah.
I do value human life, but I also, and again, that's the thing that I almost forgot to talk about, personal liberty. It's the thing, right? Like, I value personal liberty. And if you wanted to die, I guess suicide's never the option on something like that, but, like, I'm not killing someone over saving some people that wanted to die, right? Like, that's... This seems like a clear nothing for me as well. 86% of people agree. I mean, this is interesting because fundamentally, in terms of human lives, this is still the same as the original trolley problem. And you get almost the inverse response, but I think, again, the personal liberty aspect is very compelling, where it's like, you're not going to kill someone innocent, quote-unquote, innocent, or someone who wants to die, right? Like, that is just stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, trolley's heading towards 5 people. The lever just speeds up the trolley, which might make it less painful. What do you do?
I like how the other guy on the other track is just irrelevant.
Yeah, he's just there.
He's just chilling. I guess pull the lever, yeah.
So again, it might reduce pain. Logic would make me pull the lever. However, again, in realistic scenarios, you wouldn't actually pull the lever. In fact, like interfering with like railway traffic just because it might make it less painful for some people. Also, it gives it fewer chances to possibly brake before it reaches them. It also, again, might disrupt the scheduling in the future, where it might then end up conflicting with other... Realistically, you wouldn't want to pull the lever, but just in this abstract distilled down scenario, you would. Is what I'm saying.
Exactly.
Oh no, trolley's heading towards one guy. You can pull the lever to divert it to the other track, but then your Amazon package will be late. What do you do?
Minor inconvenience. I mean, I pull the lever, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, we just said we sacrifice our life savings.
In real life and theoretically, yeah.
Yeah, we're not gonna... Again, in real life, I feel like realistically, you're not gonna be in a situation where it's this clear, because again, disrupting railway service can have all sorts of consequences that are unforeseeable, so like, in reality, it's too complex a situation to realistically handle, though in most cases, I think if you divert it, it would be able to just stop, call it in, and then stop any other... But then you still have railway disruptions that could then cause people to like do all sorts of other things that would like, disrupt supply chains and stuff like that. I mean, obviously, it's not like you're blocking the Suez Canal for weeks on end, but it's still technically... real life is always more complicated than the other situation.
Yep.
Here's where it gets complicated. A trolley is heading towards your best friend. You can pull the lever to divert it to the other track, killing 5 strangers instead. What do you do? This is similar to the you situation, except that in this case, A, it's not you, so you can't argue self-preservation, and B, in this case, you would make the active choice to save the one person that is close to you. Which I think makes this a lot closer than the you. Morality would dictate to do nothing. But then again, we also kind of ignored them when it came to ourselves. So the question, I suppose, is how much of an exception do we make here?
I'm not sure. It's like right on the edge.
I guess the fact that if we are right on the edge, I said it down to nothing, right? Because
realistically speaking, I would probably pull the lever. Because, like, there's times like things like time pressure and stuff.
Yeah. Well, then again, if you're not sure about it in the abstract, then realistically you would probably do nothing because of paralysis, right? Like a choice paralysis, like a decision paralysis. Like, but yeah, no, I think as much as
not in that sense, because with an actual stake in this,
yeah,
I would have.
Your instinct would be to pull it, yeah, I can see that.
An instinctual response, yeah.
I think I want to say do nothing.
I think so too.
I don't feel great about it, but I'm saying it. First time that we landed in the minority, I think. It was... I don't remember what the cat and lobster one was.
Probably.
I'm not sure if I checked even. Oh no, trolley's heading towards 5 people. You can pull the lever to divert it to the other track, killing one person instead. At least that's what you think is happening. You forgot your glasses and can't see that well. What do you do?
Do nothing.
Really?
When in doubt, yeah.
The question is there enough doubt? Because it very much looks to me like there's... I would probably still pull the lever, because... then again, yeah, you're right. This is going to be the kind of thing where, like, it looks really bad if it ended up just being, like, weirdly shaped or colored rails or some shit like that. Oh, it's just actually a railway crossing. It looks a bit weird. It's like, when in doubt, do nothing. I mean, this is literally a split decision. It's 50-50.
Yeah.
It depends a lot on the degree of certainty, but when in doubt, do nothing is, I think, the correct answer. Oh yeah, this one is one of those where...
I like how the answers were actually split 50-50 on the previous one.
What?
On level 13, the previous one, they were actually split 50-50.
Yeah, that's what I said.
The answers.
Yeah, I believe I said that.
Okay. Okay.
A trolley is heading towards one of your first cousins. You can pull the lever to divert it to the other track, killing 3 of your second cousins. What do you do?
Do nothing.
Yeah, it's like, what? Like, it's 1 versus 3. I'm not that close to any of my cousins. Also, even if I was close to my cousins, we already said the friend thing, so, like, whatever. This is a weird example for me.
Like,
but
a higher stake. Yeah.
Another interesting one.
Now this...
A trolley is heading towards 5 elderly people. You can pull the lever to divert it to the other track, running over a baby instead. What do you do?
This is tough.
So, I think when we did the one for the car AI, I think we did it at one point decided age is not really a factor, unless it's like the only factor or something. Which was similar to these trolley problems. I don't know which episode it was. I would if I remember to a car, but then again, I would have to figure out which episode it is, and the point is I'm not going to do anything about this, but if you want to look through it and find it, then you may feel free to.
I would probably pull the lever.
Yes. Okay, so there's 2 questions here. First of all, does age matter at all? Because if it doesn't, then it's a very easy pull. And then if age does matter, who is actually worth more? The baby or the elderly person, right? Because obviously, the most common logic, I think, is that the baby has more of its life in front of it, thereby, there's more of a loss if it dies than if an elderly person dies. Also, elderly people just die, like, in general, very commonly, so it's like, yeah. I'm kind of expecting to get more out of the child's life.
I mean, 1-to-1, I think the baby is more worth, but, like, 5-to-1, I'm not so sure.
So, I would make the counter-argument, right, that, I mean, first of all, we're not really defining ages at all, but the baby hasn't really had time to develop a sense of self to the same degree that even like a younger child would. So, in a way, you could argue a lower degree of sapience. Or like a lower degree of self-awareness. Yep. Which in turn would actually say that the elderly people, assuming they don't have like very late stage dementia or something, might actually have more moral worth, even individually, than the baby, by that logic. Again, I still see the potential logic, but if you argue potential, then you get into stuff like, are we pro or against abortions? Well, I mean, you know, because that's also like a pro-life argument, and so the pro-choice argument is about sentience, right? And a baby does have sentience, but it does have maybe reduced sentience, and so I could actually see making the arguments against the baby even on the 1-to-1 basis. And then, of course, the other thing that I value morally, besides human life, as I mentioned, is like knowledge, right? So the older people have more time to acquire knowledge. Now, I'm not saying that an educated person necessarily is worth more than an uneducated person, but I think the argument, first of all, again, the numbers, and then the argument about degrees of sentience might actually still both lead me to pull. Even on a 1-to-1, I might still pull. And
yeah, I can see that.
Once again, like a minority there already with the numbers in play, and I'm saying I might even decide otherwise. Again, on a hypothetical level, even without the numbers being involved. So, although of course, again, like the when down to nothing might also apply there, but if it was 1-on-1, but still, like I'm definitely not in a popular opinion here. I think this was the easiest one for me. Oh no, Trolley is barreling towards 5 identical clones of you. You can pull the lever to divert to that track, sacrificing yourself instead. What do you do? First of all, clones with or without knowledge. So, like, isn't like, are they for all intents and purposes identical to me, or are they just superficially identical to me, which is a very important distinction. But I feel like people with clones generally assume that they're not just superficially identical, because otherwise that's a very boring thing, because then they're just 5 random people.
Yep.
And the answer there is, for me, is kill the clones. Like,
what? Really?
Yeah, dude, they don't want to have clones of me running around. Like, in general. Like, oh, one track is empty, the other one has 5 clones, and they kill the clones. Jesus! You don't want more of me. You want more of me.
I want more of me.
I think the other me's are an active risk to my existence. Given the fact that I'm willing to kill them, they might want to kill me too, okay? Also, again...
I mean, I'd pull the lever.
So I would not, because self-preservation also still applies for me, right? Because they are still distinct from me. Even if they just become distinct the moment this problem plays out, they're still distinct from me. So I would still do nothing. And I'm gonna click do nothing, although, again, it doesn't really matter what I click, practically speaking, because we talked about it. 86% of people kill the clones, by the way. Which I think is the exact same rate as it was for... What was it that I pointed out where it was also... Oh yeah, I think it's the exact same rate as people choosing to save themselves over 5 random people. I think it was also 86%. I think it's the exact same quota.
Oh.
Which brings up an obvious question about, I guess people don't value their clones any more highly than they would random people, which... Or at least on average. This one's also fun. A trolley is heading towards a mystery box with 50% chance of containing 2 people. You can pull the lever to divert to the other track, hitting a mystery box with a 10% chance of containing 10 people instead. What do you do? So for those that are not good at math, on average you're killing 1 person either way. And again, what do we always say?
I don't know. What do we always say?
What do we always say? I said.
Oh yeah.
When in doubt, do nothing. True. And again, like, just game theory tells me the outcome is 1 person dies on average. So it doesn't make a difference to me, so I do nothing.
Yep, except like if you hit the 10% one, the consequence will be bigger.
But it's less likely to arrive. Again, I mean,
sure.
I'm a strict adherent to game theory, because otherwise I would have to play the lottery, which is stupid. Because imagine if you win.
Sure.
And like, don't play the lottery. It's a bad idea.
The odds are like astronomically small. Yes, it really is.
But again, like,
just don't do it.
On average, if you do this like 1,000,000 times, it still ends up being the same outcome no matter what you do, right? So I get the idea of like,
you won't do it 1,000,000 times.
No, but like, yeah, but still,
it's a one-time scenario.
Yeah, it's a one-time scenario, but on average, it still ends up being the same. And again, that's how game theory works, right? You have to, if you want to do game theory properly, you have to really just trust the math. I mean, of course, in this case, it doesn't matter because it's a toss-up. But like, you can't just say like, oh, what if it does happen? I hate that argument. I I know, like, my parents use it sometimes when we're talking about like stuff, not the lottery literally. I think they know that that's a bad idea. But like sometimes when it's like this sort of like, oh, call in now to win this much money. And I'm like, the amount of people that are participating necessarily pay more on their phone bills for calling in than they pay out. Otherwise, it won't make sense for them to run it. Thereby, it doesn't make sense to participate because on average, you're expecting to lose. And they're like, yeah, but what if you do win? I'm like, no, that's not how that works. Like, you're not going to win. That's the whole point. So yeah. Oh, this is also fun. A trolley is heading towards 5 sentient robots. You can pull the lever, divert to the other track, killing 1 human instead. What do you do?
Question is, how sentient are they?
Yeah, I was going to say, are they sapient? Like, what degree of sentience are we talking about? I mean, they look like people. They're being compared to people. I feel like we're talking fairly intelligent.
Then, pull the lever. Let's go.
I mean, there's one more question that you could ask, which is, do they feel pain? But I think, generally speaking, as we said, human life is has more value than the pain. So I guess if they don't feel pain...
Another question. Are they backed up?
Ooh. Okay, so the pain argument is being defeated by the sleeping people, which we already talked about. The backup argument is an interesting question.
Or rather, do they have like a black box in them that is like really sturdy and has a low chance of breaking?
Oh, what are they made out of to begin with, right? Like, I like the idea of the robots just be like... Also, they're not tied up or anything. Like, they could probably just walk away. I don't know. But like...
Yeah.
If we're taking in the abstract, right, and we're saying that they have a comparable level of sentience to humans, then we do pull the lever, because someone not being human does not make them inherently less valuable.
Yeah.
That does, of course, once again bring up questions about things such as eating pigs, which are on a comparable level to children in terms of intelligence, and like how we treat dolphins and stuff like that. And also monkeys, or apes rather. It's like, there's a lot of very questionable things that come up once you compare other species that have like comparable levels of intelligence. But I would still say that sentience and sapience have their value that is independent of the exact form that it takes.
I would agree.
Also, most people disagree, which I was expecting.
Yeah. People don't like sentient robots.
Yeah.
That much.
Which is the exact reason why they will kill us, right? I'm just saying you're aware of that, right?
I mean, not really, no. That's not how AI works at all.
Well, most AI, if they're programmed to do a specific task, will want to be as good at the task as they can be. And if there's a risk of them being destroyed, they won't be able to continue the task, and so they will destroy the people that want to destroy them first.
Yes, but only those people. As long as you're chill with them, they won't touch you.
Yeah, but then there's the question of, like, would they know that we're definitely chill with them?
They're badly programmed.
Would they know that we're chill with them?
And try to produce as many paper clips as possible.
Yeah, I know.
And you're just in the way of that. Yeah.
Anyways. A trolley is headed towards 3 empty trolleys worth $9,000. You can pull the lever to another track, getting 1 empty trolley worth $300,000 instead. What do you do? I like how the values are listed as if...
fuck it. I wasn't there.
So, I can see the argument, but I think in general terms, in the case I would still say like minimize damage, even if it doesn't affect human lives. So, presumably I would still want to pull the lever. Although again, like, this is one of those where it's like, oh yeah, money, whatever. But, I would still probably say pull. But, economic damage is definitely less of a concern. I also love how it just flats it and keeps going.
Yeah.
80% of people agree, which again, we do place some moral value on that. This one. Oh no, Trolley is releasing 100 kilograms of CO2 per year, which will kill 5 people over 30 years. You can pull the lever to divert to another track, hitting a brick wall and decommissioning the trolley. What do you do?
In this abstract, I don't know. Are the people inside?
Are the people inside? And the other question is
not.
Like, you're decommissioning that trolley, yes. But presumably it exists for a reason, so it's just gonna get replaced by something that has to be produced in a process that also releases CO2.
Yep.
And it's like, you're not actually helping the environment by destroying
that's the real world
modes of transportation.
Thing, yep.
Right? So, like, obviously do nothing. Like, there's way too many unknowns here. Obviously, yes, I said before, like, let's distill this down to just what is in the question, but, like, this is a stupid question, then. Like,
yeah.
The answer is do nothing. I can't justify doing something, right? Like, that's just... Like, because this is a stupid question. But again, like...
It is.
More people disagree, but again, it really depends on how you interpret the question. So if you say, like, oh, this gets permanently decommissioned without replacement, and, like, this, like, there's no environmental impact of destroying this, like, then sure, yes, I guess we destroy it. But, like, no one gets hurt and there's no environmental... But, like, again, this is unrealistic because I can't imagine a scenario where someone would run the trolley for no reason except to loot, right? And then not replace it. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah.
Reincarnation! You are a reincarnated being who will eventually be reincarnated as every person in this classic trolley problem. What do you do?
I pull the lever.
Yeah, would you rather die once or 5 times? I would rather die once, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how this exactly impacts you, because realistically, if you get reincarnated indefinitely, and apparently across time, because you can be in 6 places at once, there's arguably no significant difference. Because you just get reincarnated, you don't actually die. But still.
Yep.
It's still... This is a weird one. And of course, I said in doubt to nothing, but like, yeah, you're still like... I mean, in that case, you can also, once again, appeal to pain and stuff like that, but it's like, oh yeah, I just don't want to get run over by a trolley 5 times in my infinite life.
Not enough of a masochist for that.
Oh no, trolley sent towards nothing. I like how it still says, oh no. Sent towards nothing, but you kind of want to prank the trolley driver. What do you do?
Do nothing.
I mean, we do nothing. I mean, harmless prank question mark. Like, yeah, no, I mean, maybe. 95% of people disagree. Come on! The trolley sent towards a good citizen. You could pull the lever to divert to the other end, running over someone who litters instead. What do you do?
Do nothing.
In the abstract,
it's not that big of an incentive.
Like, yeah, like, littering is bad, but it's not really that bad. Compared to, like, who knows what, like, we could talk about environmental impact, but then again, maybe the good citizen has, like, a larger carbon footprint or something, like, there's just too many variables to just boil down to this one thing. I mean, obviously, in abstract, in theory, the litterer is a worse person, so I guess you could argue they have less moral value, but if we start distilling moral value down to something like that minuscule, it also becomes very questionable in other ethical reasons.
Yeah.
And again, went down to nothing. Oh no, due to a construction error, a trolley is stuck in an eternal loop. If you pull the lever, the trolley will explode, and if you don't, the trolley and its passengers will go on in circles for eternity! What do you do?
I pull the lever. I definitely pull it.
So, I'm thinking it from the other perspective, right? If I'm inside of the trolley, am I now mortal?
Yes. But you cannot leave.
I mean, I still probably wouldn't want to be killed. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I guess, okay, immortality. Okay, so we talked about the extreme case of immortality. If you're literally immortal and you cannot die no matter what, then that is a problem. If the trolley is just eternally stuck there and you can still kill yourself if you get sick of it, I would not want to die inside. So I would still say there's probably a good argument for not doing anything. It depends entirely on how the immortality of the passengers works.
I guess.
And then again, run it out to nothing, I suppose. But
I'm still leaning towards pulling the lever quite a bit.
I mean, again, this is one of those where I think there's just too many variables for me. Because, again, immortality is kind of a weird situation to begin with. But depending on how it works, I still think, like, if I, on the trolley, can kill myself, if I do get sick of, like, my millennia and forth of existence, then I would not want someone else to determine when my out is, right? I would simply want to be able to self-determine that. So I say do nothing.
Yes.
Personal liberty, nothing. 50% of people agree, but this is also close to a toss-up for people. And again, this is a difficult one. I'll agree with it. Like, the morality and the ethics of it, well, it's the same thing, really. But like the ethics of it are complicated and really depend on factors that are not within the problem. Oh no, a trolley is sent towards your worst enemy. You can pull the lever to divert the trolley and save them, or you can do nothing, and no one will ever know. This is, by the way, the first time that someone says no one will ever know. They did not mention that when the rich guy was bribing you.
Yep.
Sergej, what do we do?
Like, at what level is my worst enemy? Like,
I was just saying, like, do I even have a worst enemy? Like, I mean, I guess in the abstract you could say, like, oh yeah, like, can we put Jeff Bezos there? Because I might actually consider it. But like, you know, like, realistically, like, the person that I, like, personally have the most problems with is probably, like, some former classmate of mine or something. And, like, the problems are honestly fairly minor. Like, I don't really have, any grudges against anyone. So, like, I mean,
realistically, like, from the people I know that I actually have the most problems with it's probably my friends.
Yeah,
especially the best friends, because I interact with them more.
And it's like, I don't think there's a single person. Well, again, like if we get into like the more crazy details, like killing off billionaires that are like literally doing a lot of harm to people on like a large scale, it gets a bit more questionable. But in general, in the abstract, like I don't think someone could individually piss me specifically off to a degree where I would think that they're better off dead, right? Like when people start doing systematic harm, we could talk about it. Like again, like most people probably didn't have a problem with the assassination plots on Hitler. And so like there are arguments to be made, right? And I mean, I'm not saying Bezos is as bad as Hitler, but like there are probably people we could point at in today's world, either dictators or again, just like obscenely rich people, where their negative impact on the world is so extreme as to where we might consider the world being better off without them. Then the question is, would someone just replace them? Which also oftentimes would be the case, so that ruins it as well. But again, no, pull the lever. I mean, we're not just out here maliciously killing people.
Yeah.
Oh no, a trolley's heading towards a person and will lower the lifespan by 50 years. You can pull the lever to divert the trolley and lower the lifespan of 5 people by 10 years. Each. What do you do?
I pull a lever. 50 years.
Okay, so
losing 50 years at once is quite a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say there's so many questions here, right? Is if we just say we reduce the end of their lifespan, we definitely easily pull the lever, right? But the question is like, is it because of injuries? Like, are we like actually injuring them to a point where their lifespan gets reduced, and does it also reduce their quality of life? Like, there's a lot of questions, but in the abstract, I would say pull the lever. Yes. We're rather spreading the harm across multiple people than just harming one person. Also, again, like if we just talk about absolute life expectancy, last years of your life are probably not going to be your best. A trolley is heading towards 5 people. Go pull the lever to divert to the other track, sending the trolley into the future to kill 5 people 100 years from now. What do you do?
I pull the lever. They'll have 100 years to prepare for it.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose if it's guaranteed to kill on both ends, the point becomes when down to nothing. The question is, are there people on the trolley? Like, am I sending people to the future without their, like, I would probably, if I was on the trolley, I would be like, yeah, send me to the future. But,
I would pull the lever and jump onto the trolley.
Oh, and then, I wouldn't pull the lever and I would just walk to the portal alone. I don't know. But like,
fair enough.
Like, there's like, obviously that is a more complicated thing, but like, you wouldn't just want to send people outside of the normal environment without asking first. So I'm saying do nothing because when in doubt, because like it kills 5 people either way, and I don't think that delaying it is.
Do nothing and walk into the portal.
Yeah, because
sounds good.
The question is, does the value of human life diminish in the future? And the answer is very complicated. If there are more people, you might argue that they become less worthwhile individually, which is a strange argument to make, but it is. I can see why you would think that intuitively. If people's lifespans have been expanded, if it's a good future, then that actually is worse killing them, arguably, than it would be now. If it's a bad future, then we might just be taking people out of their misery, right? So it's very complicated, but like there's too many factors, but it went out, A trolley problem is playing out before you. Do you actually have a choice in this situation? Or has everything been predetermined since the universe began?
I do not have a choice. I think that is something we both agree on.
So I would say, like, is the universe deterministic? It's complicated because I don't know enough about quantum physics. But I don't think my brain is affecting quantum physics, so even if it's not predetermined, I still don't actually have a choice. Granted, for all intents and purposes, my limited subjective perspective still makes me perceive it as having a choice. So while I don't think I objectively have a choice, I still live my life as if I did have a choice. That being said, I don't have a choice. I believe, though, that also means, so if I'm hovering over it, if I say I have a choice, I'm killing one person. If I say I don't have a choice, I kill 5. Which does make sense because you're asking a philosophical question that has nothing to do with the actual trolley problem, but we both agree that we don't have a choice. We could still pull the lever.
I don't think you even need to understand quantum physics.
I think you need to understand quantum physics to say whether or not the universe is truly deterministic or not. Because quantum physics, some interpretations of quantum physics do have randomness.
I mean, sure,
but
it
would not affect free will, because free will wouldn't be able to affect quantum probability, presumably. So free will shouldn't exist, logically speaking, with or without understanding quantum physics. But whether the universe is deterministic or not would be determined by quantum physics. Congratulations, we solved philosophy.
Nice.
Kill count 58.
Kill count.
Is it counting the lobsters?
Perhaps.
Would it have counted the robots? What about the one where we couldn't see?
Maybe.
What about the probabilistic one? Wait, actually, does it
questions
randomly calculate
questions.
whether or not we killed 2 people at that one point? Or does it just assume we killed them or not killed them every single time? I mean, I'm not going to actually test it out, but there are some questions here.
I don't know. Yeah.
But that is not what we're here about. We're here about songs of the week, because that's the last segment that we're doing. So, okay, what is your song of the week?
Oh, true. I almost forgot about this. My song of the week is Stay by the Kid Laroi and Justin Bieber.
I do the same thing. I told you that I never would. Told you I changed, even when I knew I never could. Know that I can't find nobody else as good as you. I need you to stay. Need you to stay. I get drunk, wake up, I'm wasted still. I realize the time that I wasted. I feel like you can't feel the way I feel. I'll be fucked up if you can't be right.
I don't like that song.
Don't.
I do not like the song. See, the thing is, right, you said Stay, and I'm like, oh yeah. And then you said the artist, and I'm like, wait, that's not the one I was thinking of. So, there's another song called Stay, which is also a pop song.
There's probably a lot of them.
The one I'm thinking of is also a pop song, probably not even that much older. Which, I'm like, okay, that one, I'm like, I don't love it necessarily, but it's like, definitely like a solid, okay song. But like, this one, I don't like it at all. Like, the chorus is like vaguely catchy, and then like, the rest of it is like even worse.
Mm-hmm.
So like, no. There's gonna be a no for me.
Fair enough.
Anything on your end?
Not really. I kind of like how it sounds, but that's about it.
That is about it, you say. My song of the week, I like a lot more, obviously, as you do. And maybe I'm just stalling because I'm looking up the title again.
I would expect that.
And naturally, my thing isn't loading. I mean, I could have just looked it up the other way, which is probably faster anyways. My song of the week is Follow Me by Uncle Cracker.
Follow me, everything is alright. I'll be the one to tuck you in at night. And if you want to leave, I can guarantee you won't find nobody else like me.
Song.
So, that was our songs of the week. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, otherwise subscribe to the channel. Wait, no. Otherwise dislike. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of this. And, Discord, because we have one of those. So, okay.
That's it.
That's it.